All right, guys. Well, we are hopping on in here today. We've got day number 3 out of 4. We're super excited about having all of you guys join back with us. I see everybody piling on in. Welcome back to the jungle. If this is your first Element Granum webinar and spring kickoff series, I just want to say welcome to all of you guys that are plugging in. Maybe this is your first day. Welcome. Maybe you guys have been with us for the previous 2 days and you've already been part of the conversation and seeing all the growth, the tips, the nuggets, the resources that you guys can take away from the webinar to help implement into your business to have the best spring ever. Well, folks, that's what it's all about. I know a lot of you guys are calling in, dialing in, plugging in from all across the world. Selfish request. I love seeing the chat blow up. I love seeing what you guys are up to today. Let me know if where you're plugging in from and what the weather looks like today, because we were just talking about this 2 seconds ago. In Michigan, it is a balmy like 50 degrees and pouring rain. It's all muddy. It's junky. Jason Cromley was just saying same thing in Ohio. And so for any of you guys that are getting sunshine, we're jealous. And for any of you guys that are getting accumulating snow, low-key a little jealous too. I wouldn't mind another plow run or a couple more salt runs. And so we're really excited about having you guys on today. Folks, today is day 3. We're going to be talking about creating high performance culture, and we've got some really, really great guests that are going to be pouring into you guys. First off, if you guys don't know me, my name is Brian Fullerton. I have a company called Brian's Law Maintenance up here in Metro Detroit, Michigan. It's actually our 20th year in business. I know I started this thing when I was 7 years old. I get it. I look young, but that is the truth. I've been doing this for actually like 30 years. I eat, sleep, and breathe lawn and snow. I love this industry. We're very, very excited to host this event for you guys today. Our co-host, the host with the most that you guys have heard so much from this week, and he's doing a fantastic job, Mr. Sam Gembel. And then again, we've got our guest expert today, Jason Cromley with Hidden Creek Landscaping. And so, folks, we're really, really excited about having you on in here today. I'm going to let Sam and Jason give us the high level for about 60 seconds, just their background. Maybe this is your guys' first day joining us. And so without further ado, Mr. Sam Gembel, welcome back to the show, brother.
What up? It's an honor to be here for day 3. Yesterday was like back to back to back to back. But man, it was a powerful thing. But for those of you that are your first time joining the webinar series or your first time maybe knowing who I am, Sam Gembel, I'm the owner and founder of Atlas Outdoor based in the balmy, rainy Michigan, Flint, Michigan that Brian already alluded to. If you guys don't know, started the company 2011, been going on our 15th year, been there, done that. Built the company to about 110 team members, and we talked about this yesterday, but I'll throw it out again today. In December of last year, we were acquired by the Shill grounds management team, so we are excited to be joining into that Shill collective blanket umbrella of companies. So excited to be here. Culture is something that since day one, I've been very passionate about building leaders within the organization. And so it's an honor to be on this side, as you guys all know. And I am really excited to get to co-host with Jason today. I got funny story for those of you that don't know. I actually met Jason many years ago at a Breakfast of Champions table at NALP. And then it was really funny, like either the next day or maybe it was the next year, my wife sat at his same table and was like, man, this Jason guy from Columbus, Ohio. And so she's like, we both were like leadership crushing on the man, the myth, the legend. So it's super cool to get to do this today with Jason. So enough about me. Moving on, Jason, tell us about you and what you got going on down there in Cebus.
Yeah, thanks so much for the warm welcome, guys. Couldn't be more excited, more proud. Sam, I will say there is one funny thing as soon as I hear you talking. If you could throw a brother in there and I close my eyes, I literally can envision Hulk Hogan is behind you, right? He's the new spirit inside of you. It's coming out.
That's funny.
Your enthusiasm that both you guys bring to the industry is something that, you don't teach that, right? You just kind of wake up and realize you love this industry. You love what you do. I'll be honest, no one probably gets into landscaping to be, man, I want to be super rich someday. We do it because we love the smell of grass. We love seeing what mulch looks like, a new bed, a fresh edge, and then seeing the look on your team's face and the client's face when you exceeded their expectations. So any chance I can do to give back, I'll keep doing it. We started our company in 1998. We were college students. We bartended at night. We went to classes during the day. My best friend and I decided, hey, how hard can it be? Because I had a pickup truck. So, buy a wheelbarrow and we're off to the races. And again, 34 years later, we'll probably have about 175 people this year with
Awesome.
a heavy emphasis on residential design build, coming in at about 66%, and then commercial and residential maintenance coming in at the balance of it. Did get a little bit of snow this year, but when it comes to what we do at Hidden Creek, we try to do the very best, lead by example, and make sure that our brand is on point. So today is just another example of what it is we try to do to deliver the best to everyone else. So please take our ideas, copy them, use them, implement them. Remember, what I'm telling you is not how to do it. I'm trying to tell you what worked for us and definitely what I've failed at time and time again. So hopefully this
Just
is a
for
great
just
lesson for
for
everybody today.
for context, Jason, can you share what your like revenue stream split is with design build? I know you guys do beautiful maintenance work and a little bit of snow. Columbus does get some white. Like what is your revenue split there between the different streams?
Yeah, absolutely. So last year we turned in $24 million, complete company wide. This year we're actually set a new target for $30 million. Out of that 30 million, 20 million will come in from residential, will come in from design build,
Okay,
which also includes our pool division. Out of that 20 million, probably 3 to 4 of that will come in from the commercial, the rest being all residential. Then on the
got it.
maintenance side, coming in at about 7.5 million, I would say probably 4.5 of that will come in from the commercial side, the rest being residential.
Okay, perfect,
Last
perfect.
is
Fantastic.
full service.
Just for
Yeah,
context, yeah.
yeah. And then we do full service as well too for about 1.5 million. And whatever the white stuff is it's just that little bit of the cherry on top.
That's
There you
awesome.
go.
That's awesome.
Uh,
So we could talk branding with Jason. We could talk team development with Jason. We could talk leadership with Jason. We can talk about how Sam stole their company pick idea for our 2025 or 2024 team photo and put all of our guys in the backs of trucks. Totally
Yeah.
stole that from Hidden Creek. Like, dude, you clearly are a trailblazer, Jason, and it's awesome to have you and to get to do this with you. And I would lead with what you said, the comment about, none of us get into this for the financial gain from it. The money is definitely a byproduct. But what I will say with it is that you're having that passion for the work and wanting to see the other side and getting to see other people like hit their goals because of what you've been able to build. I like to say that we get to do this. We get to do this. It's a luxury service that all of us offer, and we get to do it. So
that's
Love
awesome. That's
that.
awesome.
So
Well, all
very
right.
true.
Well, let's do this, folks. We'll keep it moving. We've got a lot packed in for day 3 for you guys. Sam and Jason are going to be tag teaming back and forth. I'm going to do my best to MC this thing and keep it moving. We do really respect your guys' time, so thank you for real for joining with us today. One thing I'll just say, if you guys don't mind, just dropping a quick thank you in the chat to LMN for hosting this thing. It's absolutely free, and I know I've gotten dozens of DMs on Instagram, emails. I know Sam's email box was flooded yesterday.
yep.
Folks, this resource, like this webinar, could be easily a couple $100, couple $1,000. Element is putting it on for free to help grow your guys' business and give you the tools and resources to grow. So I don't take anything for granted. And like I've said many times before, one of my lines, as you've probably already heard before, some people treat a crumb like a feast and some people treat a feast like a crumb. I'm very, very grateful for LMN, Jason, and Sam's time today to be able to learn from some of the best. All right. That being said, this is day 3. I had a question come up earlier. Are you guys going to get the recordings? Yes, you are. I just wanted to make sure I covered that for you. If you haven't gotten them already, they should be in your email box today, tomorrow, definitely by end of week. So no worries there. Maybe you guys are watching this while you're plowing snow or on the go. So no worries there. One quick thing, if you guys have never been on a Zoom webinar, I know it's kind of a little bit different thing for landscapers, right? To be on a Zoom like this, myself included. In the main chat, feel free to banter, share some thoughts, anything that resonates. We love reading that stuff, just like you guys do. But if you have a specific question for Jason or Sam, put it in the Q&A chat. It's a different box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. All right, because we're going to be answering those questions as we go real time, and that way they don't get lost in the main chat, the main conversation. All right, I'm going to do my best to tee those up to Jason and Sam real time, but if they're a little bit more of a heavy hitter question or something that's a little off topic, we'll save them for the last 30 minutes of the show where we're going to do a Q&A. And quick note, if we haven't answered your question just yet, rest assured, I promise you, Sam and I are going to get it tomorrow as we do a little bit more of a free-for-all style style and answer any of the spillover questions that we didn't have time for. So no worries, we're still tracking with you guys, and you'll still get those answered. So let's do this really quick. Let's John a little review, and then let's kick it back over to Sam and Jason. We've talked about laying the foundation on day one with Denver. He did a fantastic job. Day two was how to grow those crews and have force multipliers with those foremans. A lot of tangible takeaways yesterday. Today, now you've got this team forming up. You have a little bit of a system, a little bit of a process. Well, now you have 10, 20, 50, 100, maybe 200 team members like Jason was talking about. How do you create a great culture, a high performance culture? Because as Sam has said, if systems or processes, otherwise, one of the best things that allowed them to grow at $1 million per year revenue growth was they just didn't know any better. They just had a tight, core knit group, right? It's the whole deal where one can put 100 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. It's biblical just like that. Folks, if you just have a tight team, I promise you guys can figure out the rest. And so I'm really excited about kicking it back over to Jason and Sam. I want to hear more about how to build a high performance culture. So without further ado, let's roll it back onto Sam and Jason. Sam, take it away.
Day three. So welcome, Jason. Now we get to dive into some fun stuff here. So I'm going to lead with a couple of memory things that I remembered about our conversations that we've had, Jason. And I've got one in my head that was around $12 million, which was when I first met you. And then my second one was when we talked, you were going through this 18 to $22 million kind of buffer. And you said, man, we just keep getting stuck. And this is the first time I've heard you kind of break past that 20 to $22 million number with a $24 million number shooting to go to $30 million. So obviously, you know what it's like for things to change as growth happens. Like, the reason that we get into the industry is because we just have, for one, and I mentioned this before at Lawntrepreneur Academy, a lot of reason people start in the lawn care and landscape industry. I mean this with love to my brothers and sisters on the call, but it's a very low barrier of entry to get into this industry, which is why there are 640,000 companies in North America that make up the lawn and landscape industry. So, with that said, there's a low barrier of entry, but that also means there's also a very low barrier of exit. So just as easy as it is to get in, it's easy for people to get out. So let's kind of go back there, Jason, where the company's small, right? It's you and your friend, and you guys are come out of college, you're getting the company going. And I'm pretty sure Jason was just reading an estimate as we're on a webinar. That's just what multitaskers do.
And his assistant was bringing him coffee. It's
always
good to see how the other side lives, bro.
That's how.
Yeah.
Is that an Ohio thing, or is that
it's also my sister thing. So it's nice.
So let's go back, Jay, to like when business was first getting going. Like what made you because we're going to talk about the truth about growth and how the more and more you grow, the very same thing that we were passionate about when we first got started, we start to kind of grow away from that as there's different layers, and we become leaders of leaders that are leading leaders that are leading leaders. So let's go back to when the business first started, and was there this dream vision to just grow the company to be a multi 8-figure business, or what did that look like back in 1998 or 99, like you said when you first started?
Jeez. Okay. So, that's a long time. So, you're asking me to go.
I know,
back.
I know you remember it though. I know you you've told me the story.
Yeah, I do because, it was something in life, as I was younger, I never really anticipated starting my own landscaping company. I did it in summers and it was fun, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing ever. And it was funny. I actually got into bartending and made killer money through college. Was fantastic. And it's actually kind of what drove me, in all honesty, towards the career I'm in, believe it or not. So one of the things for us when we started this business was I live by my love language is words of affirmation, right? Believe it or not, I love when people tell me I'm doing great, right? I need that constant feedback. So in the world of bartending, you get that all the time because they want the next drink. They're like, oh man, you're a great bartender, because they want to be next in line. Well, when I got into college and got into landscape horticulture for the first time in my educational career, horticulture spoke to me. I could remember the plants. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to be there. I didn't care about history. I didn't care about the maths. I didn't care about all those things. But man, I wanted to learn every plant, Latin and English, right? I wanted to know where it went. And my business partner and I happen to be the exact same. So we both had this kind of natural calling to an industry where we could work outside. We could use our hands. I was not built for a desk. Granted, I sit at a desk, 80% of my life now, but at the time, I wasn't built for it. So we wanted to be outside. We wanted to create with our hands. And the more that we knew about the industry, our trade, our craft, the more confident we were to talk to our clients about what was going on. And I can tell you, I still would talk to clients and I'm like, well, I'm in school for this. They're like, they teach this in school? I'm like, just so we're clear, horticulture has been around in the Bible for a pretty long time. Like we're still using those same things to this day, right? Yep. And so it's always been around. It's always been there. And for me and Matt, it was really about, we just wanted to work hard because we loved it. It wasn't work, right? It was, we just get to keep building things.
And people keep sending you checks. How crazy is that?
Yeah, people are paying me to spend their money, in all honesty. I mean, nothing mean. They're like, well, what should we do? I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I get to spend other people's money on something if it were, and I treated every house like it was my own. How could I make, if I lived here, where would I put this tree? Where would this light go? What should the bed edge look like? If I'm going to mow it, is it a soft curve? Is it a hard curve, right? All these different things that led me to say, I want it to be efficient. I want it to be beautiful. I want it to be repeatable, right? So Matt and I, that's my business partner, that was the philosophy we took. And we had a strong competition with each other where it was how many bags of mulch can you carry? Well, how many can you carry, right? Who can get here earlier? Who can stay later? And it wasn't because we had to, it was because we truly wanted to. And so those early stages were very small. I grew up right here in Columbus, Ohio. So most of the work were all referrals, people that I knew that I grew up with. And so the jobs were small, $500 job, $1,000 job, like it's gonna get it done, right? And we slowly didn't pay ourselves for probably the first 3 years. We used bartending, tips to live, right? Both getting married pretty young at the time, trying to finish school. So it was a lot of things happening. And really what we wanted was, we both said, man, if we get to $1 million in business, we're going to be rich. Sam, we're going to be rich.
Entrepreneurial, that's like the initial vision. Same thing for me, not to cut you off, but if I could do $1 million in revenue, I am God's gift to entrepreneurs. Like that's the dream. That's the dream.
That was the number. And I thought, man, we're going to be rich. And both our wives were also nurses, best friends. And so, they're like relying on, they were the sole income back in the day, right? They were the ones making the money. We were the ones just working, bartending, having some fun in landscaping. So we said, don't worry, when we make it to $1 million, we're going to take care of you guys. You guys don't have to work. It's going to be fantastic. At $1 million, I think we had $1 million in debt. I'm like, so I missed something in the world of, college. They didn't teach me a business class. They didn't teach me about balance sheets, profit and loss. What the heck does EBITDA stand for? I don't know those things. I know I can buy a new truck. And oh my God, have you guys seen this skid steer? It's got tracks on it. Like, wait till you see this. It's going to change the industry, right? And so it was those small investments we made. We had the excitement for the industry. We took some pretty big chances. And, as we kind of go through today's talk, I'm happy to talk more about some of those times we decided just to push all the chips in. And if there's anything that I can tell you that defines me, I'm always push the chips in kind of guy.
Yep.
Because I know with my experience, with my knowledge, with everything I have, I'll always get it back. But I'm never afraid to bet on my team or bet on what this industry can do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's dive into it, guys. We're going to give you the tools and the resources. Very, very grateful that Jason was able to share a little bit more about their background. Quick selfish plug. If you guys didn't do your homework last night and check out the shop tour that we did with Jason in Hidden Creek, seriously, you owe yourself a favor to check out their operation. I don't even know if Jason knew me for about 3.5 minutes, and I stuck a camera in his face per a friend of ours up here, Mark Bradley.
Brian's got a habit of doing that. That's how I met him too. The same exact thing.
I blindsided Jason. I'm like, talk to the people. And I think to date, Jason, not to put a feather in your cap and give you too many attaboys. I know your words of affirmation, but I think you're the first or second biggest shop tour that we did on our YouTube channel. So kudos to you. but
Nice.
that's a direct reflection of the outfit and the operation that you guys have going on over there. So, folks, whether you watched it last night or watched it later today, go check out that shop tour, and it'll give you some more context to what Jason's talking about, and you can follow them along. So, Sam, let's jump back into it, brother.
Yeah,
Back to you.
let's go. I want to go. We got a lot to talk about and a lot of slides, but I want to talk about complexity because that was the last slide that we had here, and we've been talking a lot the last few days. The word clarity, I think, has been mentioned like 70 times, and so I want to go back because there's 100 and almost 200 people on this webinar, and I think 99% of them, when you just talked about the hit the $1 million in debt, didn't pay myself for 3 years. A lot of people here, the only reason that their company is surviving on life support is because their wives, are bringing in the bacon too, which helps. But I want to talk about the complexity being the enemy and that first hurdle of growth. Like, same story with Atlas, right? We hit the $1 million our first full year in business. And so I didn't really know what it was like to only be at 3 or 400K because we broke past that really quick, but yet same thing, made no money. But talk to me about the first, I know it's hard, so I need you to go back and put your thinking cap on, but like, how have you seen, I have a million questions and I want to make sure I get to some of these ones that I think everybody needs to hear. Let's talk about complexity real quick. How have you seen, or how do you remember how your business evolved when there was a lot more bureaucracy with the decisions that you're making? You're putting leaders in place, so now there's ambiguity with decisions that are being made and who's owning what and all that. But kind of share that with our grouping. How have you seen complexity be the real enemy or be the real change at Hidden Creek, and how did you guys work past that with just being the one doing the work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and you're right. We could spend, the next hour talking about complexity, and guess what? I have it, right? And like anything, it's like going to the gym. I always equate things going to the gym. It's like walking into the world's biggest gym, and there's 1,000 pieces of equipment. Where do you start, right? And it just gets overwhelming. It's like, well, just grab a mat and do push-ups and sit-ups, and by the way, you're solid, right? That'll get you through. But we always think we need to add one more tool, one more piece of equipment to things, one more crew, one more foreman, one more procedure, and it's going to make life better. So we're actually right in the middle, right? And I had someone come in, a good friend of mine with another landscaping business, and be like, man, I'm ready to bang my head against the wall. He goes, sits for a day. He's like, what are you doing? Like, you're trying to fix 100 things and you need to fix like 3. And I'm like, yeah, but if all 100 get fixed, think of where I'll be. Think of the size of success. He's like, you're never going to get them fixed, right? So even a leader like me still needs that, recognition, right? Still needs that knockdown and that re-clarifying what is the most important, right? And he came
Well,
through the door.
two plugs right there. One, if you're the person going to the gym, you know what you should do? You should get a trainer. They will tell
Yeah.
you what equipment to use. And in business, there are some incredible business coaches out there that can help you identify the 100 things that you think you need to fix. They will take it down to 3. And that's like, you nailed it right there. What a great start
Yeah.
to pave the way for that.
And it helps, and it helped me. And because, as we've gotten bigger, right? Leadership team, I've got a director of revenue, director of operations, director of finance, administration, right? All these things. And sometimes it feels like a game of telephone, right? Are there ever times I wish I could go back to being $5 million and just grin and, get through it, get back to my elbows? I'd love to say yes, but, couple 3 hernias, new full knee. I don't think the field's taking me back again. So what do I have to do? I've got to start setting clear expectations and accountability. I mean, you've got it right here, Sam. I mean, this could be engraved in stone and be put in, a big thing buried in the ground, and it's always going to be the same, right? Set expectations and then hold people accountable to those expectations. And I'll be honest, people run from that. People hate accountability at any level, right? Those who don't are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs will jump on accountability all day long because we're always willing to accept the blame, right? We're not going to blame a foreman because we missed hours. We're going to say, what did we do wrong? What was the estimate wrong, right? Was the equipment wrong? Because we truly want to fix it and we want people to want to see their own success. But
What
if
did
you
it take for you to recognize that early on? What was it? when obviously that person made that comment to you, but like you're speaking it right there when you're like, that's entrepreneurs love accountability. I would say the ones that want more do, but not all of them do. So what for you, how did you recognize that in Hidden Creek when you're like, man, like what are we doing here? What made you realize that you've got something there that you're like, if we don't change, we got to go back? Was there a revenue point for you? Like
Yeah,
what
truly. It
broke
was
before you realized you needed to fix it kind of thing?
no profit, right? You can't grow 13% and look at the bottom line and see that there was no gain out of that 13%.
Mm,
Profit goes backwards. And there's 100 reasons why it did. But there was really just one reason is we weren't focused on what the goal was of growing $3 million, which was to make more money. It was, hey, that's a cool top line number. You said it, right, Sam? Jason, you were kind of in this place, weren't really growing. Guess what? We blew through it, and there was nothing to show for it besides, blood, sweat, and a lot of tears. And what I really started to do too, which was probably the biggest thing in the last 2 years, is I started looking at my team. I'm a big accountability guy. I'm very short, so maybe I have a little bit of a Napoleon, syndrome on me because I always say if I can do it, I know somebody else can do it, right? So I expect a lot of my people. I'm a Nick Saban, right? I don't care if we won by 3 touchdowns, we should have won by five,
yeah.
because proper coaching, proper planning, don't get too comfortable. So we've had to swap a lot of our team out these last couple years, specifically in the sales world, rebuilding literally 70% of it in 2 years' time and still grew through it. And that was because the people who were here weren't holding themselves accountable. So what do you got to do? You got to find the team that says, bring it on. I can take it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's something I've really appreciated about hearing your story at a couple conferences, Jason, is
We
you're very
we
candid.
can end the webinar right
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
literally like the value already, like, man, my wheels are spinning.
I love it. I love it. Well, folks, we got a poll. We know that you guys love doing the polls. I love doing the polls. I'm a sucker for polls. Somebody calls me up and says, "Hey, do you have a quick second?" No. Well, we have a poll. Hell yeah, I'll give you my 2 cents. So anyway, if we can get your guys' 2 cents on the poll, where's your company struggling right now as you continue to grow? What's felt the most fragile? I'll just be honest while we're here for a quick second. Ours was definitely the accountability conversation, Jason. So very clear on our message, very consistent on our work, but I've realized you have to have the accountability, AKA consequences, right? And we've learned that recently with some different events that I've been plugging into to grow a more lean business. And so very excited about that. Another quick second here on the poll, and let's see what the results. Sam, what do we got for the results?
Looks like one of our number ones there is the holding people to standards is the biggest one. That's 50 out of 88. Lowest one is culture and values being lived day to day. Like what's crazy is obviously I've had the privilege and honor of doing 100 different keynotes now, and it's funny because the talks on culture always seem to be the smallest rooms. Like people just don't. It's like, no, my culture is good, but as we've gotten more into accountability and habits and things like that, man, it has just been like those rooms are packed. Like people are understanding like the scoreboards have got to be turned on. And people ask that question all the time. How do you create a great culture? Is set the expectation and hold people accountable to it. And I can tell you, when we turned our LMN scoreboards on, it was a game changer for us. And then when people were like going against the grain and fighting it, at a certain point, you gotta shoot a hostage and throw them out the door. And people will be like, okay, they're not. Thank you, Jerry Schill, for that reference. That was something that he coached in me. But at a certain point, if people aren't following by what the standards are going to be, then that's what you have to do to show like, hey, we're not going away from these. But all too often, like I love using the Grant Cardone reference of 10x, and everybody's like, what do you mean like 10x is in growing? No, I mean 10x is in whenever you want to make a change in your business, whether that's accountability or culture or scoreboards or clarity, bring 10x the momentum that you think you're going to need, because you're going to get 10 times the resistance from your very comfortable team. And that's where sometimes you heard Jason say he had to promote some people to another company just because they were comfortable where it was. And there's different stages of comfort. And so let's move on past that. But I want to talk about the hope is not a strategy on our next slide here. And so let's go back to those years, like you said, Jason, where you said that you were tired of just not being profitable. And so let's talk about that. Let's go back to the intentionality towards the growth, just because I think that there's some real nuggets in that our attendees here need to hear.
Yeah, and I will say I'll kind of attribute one thing that we did just 6 years ago, specifically following, the hope is not a strategy, and the growth that we had. We had hit a ceiling. It was right as COVID was coming into the world, and we signed up for something called EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating Systems. And again, that's a philosophy, not a thing, right? There's books on it, there's all this, but it helped us rewrite our core values, helped us rewrite our vision, not just our mission. We didn't really focus on mission. We focused on our core focus, our core values, our core vision, our 1-year plan, our 3-year plan, and then we shared it with the entire company. And we set our meetings around what rocks would be and what goals should be. And so there's no longer hope. There's truly a mathematical problem that's ahead of us that says this is what the gross margin needs to be: sales per division, net profit per division, revenue per hour per person, thanks to LMN, right? All these different things that said, guys, we're not growing to grow. We're growing in this one particular thing. We're going to market this way. We're going to brand this way. This is the whole philosophy behind it. So we became intentional about everything. There's no longer hope, right? Yes, I hope it doesn't rain between, 6 o'clock in the morning and, 6 o'clock at night. I'd rather it be, a quarter inch every 3 days at, 10 o'clock at night. So that's hope. That's fine. And it sounds funny, that word hope, no one at my office is allowed to say it. I took it away. It's one of our banned words because they say, I hope the client signs Friday. I'm like, I hope your paycheck makes it through on Friday, right? How does that feel, right? Doesn't feel so good when I use the word hope, does it? So can't plan for hope. You can't count on hope. You can't take hope to the bank. I can say, if you want the client to sign on Friday, you better start on Monday with the first call. You better be there Wednesday knocking on their door. And by Friday, you better give them no excuse to say yes or no. But what I don't want to hear is, I don't know, or I hope they respond. So we got very intentional with what we knew would give us the opportunities for success by bringing clarity to how we attack each type of thing in our business.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, getting rid of the hope, and let's talk about clarity, because that is a word. If you guys are picking a word for 2026, if the last couple of days didn't make clarity your word, I hope it is now, because we need clarity ourselves, because far too many people are running their landscape companies like a ball in a pinball machine. And literally, you nailed it. They hope the customer signs. They hope they get enough money in the bank to make payroll Friday. They hope that the foreman that they need magically walks through the door on a week before opening season, so they don't have to do any training because this guy's God's gift to Exmark lawnmowers or whatever. Like I like Scott nailed it. Hope does not pay the bills. And so let's talk about that clarity early on. Like, there's no doubt in my mind where you're at today. There's no denying that you guys are living out your clear mission. The vision's coming to life, and that's why you're growing the way you are. But let's go back to the early days of clarity, and what did that look like for you, as far as culture goes, and how did you reinforce it daily? Leading from the middle is a popular topic, influencing up, influencing down. So let's talk about clarity. How about this? Let's go to this. How about clarity pre-LMN? Because you were, I mean, LMN helped dial it in and bring things, but let's go clarity pre-EOS and clarity pre-LMN.
Yeah, LMN, it's funny. It's a great question. It's a great, throwback to everything that they did for us, and the fact that LMN made me a business owner.
Yep.
Pre-LMN, I was a landscaper, right?
So good. So good.
It, right? I was a great
That better be
landscaper.
that needs to be on like an LMN banner somewhere. Like,
Yeah.
quit being a
registered
landscaper and
that
be
on
a
the
business
website.
owner. That's good.
Yeah, I already got the website just now.
They're like,
Love it.
I remember the first time, like, you have to do a budget. I'm like, ooh, that sounds like fun. What's that? They're like, you've never done a
Profit, never
budget?
heard of her. That's
Yeah,
Brian's favorite word.
Yeah, I was
what's
I was
that?
12 years in business, guys. Like, what was I thinking? And so at that early stages, right, before the LMN, right, and I think we're, under $2 million at this time, right? We grew really slow, took our time, all those things. But clarity was established on a job site, right? Because I was there, right? And then clarity was wherever I was, there was clarity. The problem was when I wasn't there, there was misdirection, right? There was, well, Jason's gone. What do we do now?
Mm.
So clarity lived with me, but it was in a very, very small bubble. And it was within yelling distance. That's where clarity lived. And so what I didn't do was create standards, right? Things that should be in place when I'm not here. Hindsight, looking back, God, I put my family at risk, right? What if something would have happened to me in those early stages of early business, right? No one was taken care of. The business would have failed within months, and my business partner, we were both the same, right? He had clarity around him. I had clarity around me, and we were able to use each other for those backups. But when something would happen, we didn't have it. So LMN gave me clarity on what financials were behind landscaping. Before, I just liked to build cool shit. I just wanted it
Yep.
to be fun. I just wanted to cut grass and mulch and go through the phases and all those things. When I finally got into budgeting, I'm like, okay, well, this is where profit lives. I used to rely on my accountant, call me in February. Okay, this is how much you made this year. Sweet. Do I get
So
any?
good.
No. See, this is called a negative number. I'm like, oh, okay, this sucks. So working through that, doing budgets, understanding what we really were doing was great. Now, it didn't lead me to what I wanted to do though, because at the heart of me and landscaping, and you guys have heard it, I've had tons of consultants come in, and the number one thing I used to hear, grow commercial maintenance, right? That's what they say. Why? Because you can sell it. And guys, this goes back 10 years ago before we're all being, solicited now to buy. This goes back before. And I honestly, I used to fire those consultants because I'm like, that's not who I am.
It's not
And
what you want. Yep.
it still isn't. Now I'm doing it because it's good business practice. But me, I still wake up wanting to do the killer backyard, outdoor living, pool, spa, resort in their backyard because man, when people go to my website, they don't say those are the straightest mow lines I've ever seen. They just don't.
So
They never
good.
will. But they say, that backyard, whose is that? And I say, well, actually, that one's mine because I wanted it to be badass.
Yeah.
So the clarity piece of it, you got to be able to make sure that it's repeatable and someone else can say your same words wherever they go. Right. And those are the philosophies. Clarity is more than just how to build a retaining wall. It's the philosophy behind why you did each one of those steps in the order that you did them.
Jason, let me ask you this, maybe to get a little bit more granular and like kind of push in a little bit. Uh, Sam just asked you about the financial side, right? You kind of answered that. Talk to me a little bit more of like the organizational growth side. Maybe as you went from 2 million to 10 million, where a lot of folks are at right now, they're watching and they're doing 700 grand, 2 million, 2.5 million. When did you notice that the organization was stunted with its future growth potential? Maybe this revelation, right, based on yourself. And did you have any like aha moments or
Yeah.
man, that job was over hours or man, that job didn't get done? Like anything like that that really stuck out that you realized like maybe you were the bottleneck for that growth?
Yeah. Is, probably always will live a little bit of a bottleneck because of how much I love what we do and who we are. But one of the first roles that I added that kind of changed our company is I brought in a designer. Um, Both Matt and I were designers. We studied landscape architecture, right, and horticulture. Well, I looked up one day and I'm designing to my skill set, right? So what did I want to do? I wanted to lay as many patios as possible. Let's just put Unilock across the world, right? Reading Rock, Oberfields, whatever it was. I just wanted to do pavers because it was fast and I thought it was easy. And then I look up on a golf course one day and my patio looks like 30 others that I'm looking at. I'm like, I got to change this. So I hired designers and I gave them the direction and they designed stuff. I'm like, I don't know how to build that. They're like, well, this is what the client asked for. So it pushed me outside my comfort zone, right? I got away from those concrete pavers. And for me, we got into more natural stone because my competitors were afraid of natural stone. So I always set myself in a harder world than everybody else had. I always wanted the harder stone. I wanted the harder clients. I wanted the tougher schedule, right? If you will. I wanted it to be more challenging because then I knew if I could make it in those times, when the easy jobs come along, I'd crush them. So I found ways to push myself. So those designers were key. And honestly, my first couple project managers made all the difference in the world for me. I had to get out of the field, right? I had to get more client facing. I had to look at the numbers. I had to look at the books. And like so many small business owners, I mean, like me, I was the designer, I was the operations, I did all the book work, I did the payroll. I mean, I did everything. And and I don't know how I did to this day, but
Yeah.
somehow, I mean, really, good God, I don't know how I did it. And two kids, right? Great family, had a ton of support from them. My wife worked. This wasn't easy, but you really found a way when I actually still loved what we were doing every single day. And I have learned to love a lot more than landscaping. I do love numbers now. I didn't know it, but I love numbers. I love marketing, right? All those things now are all a bigger love because of how I understand what they do to our industry specifically.
That's
I tell
awesome.
people one of the number one ways to get yourself, off the truck or be to even begin to know what the word scale means is you have to change what your identity is for why you started your business. Because
Mhm.
if your identity is like I started the company and I'm a landscaper, I build backyards, whatever, that it's really hard to go. Like you mentioned, the software took you from being a landscaper to being a business owner. But like I'll even say, if you could just go from being the landscaper, the hardscaper, the outdoor living builder, the lawnmower, to being the marketing guy in Hidden Creek, just
Mhm.
that simple tweak of being like, I go to work every day to do our marketing could be what takes you past 1 million plus. But you have to know, like, I just can't be the guy out there building these jobs anymore. Now what's kind of cool is when the people that are super passionate about that as you're going through scale, you can go back to it if you wanted to. Jason, if you wanted to go right now, your business isn't growing because you're at the helm of it now. You're at the point now where if you wanted to go back out there and jump in a machine and play around for a few hours, the business isn't going to fall apart because of it. And I think that's where business gets fun. When you can own a seat in the business because you want to, not because you have to. That's where when you can go into work and say, you know what, I'm going to go in today and I'm going to fix our most broken process that we have because I don't have to go out and sell. I don't have to go out and do a bank rec. I don't have to balance my P&L, whatever that looks like or whatever. So, thinking about like especially for the companies that are on here that specialize, it's a very blended community with outdoor living, maintenance, landscaping, whatever. One of the things I know is outdoor living is there's a lot of moving parts to it. You're building, I see your guys' projects. You're building a house in somebody's backyard. What, like, thinking about the front lines and the culture and the team that you have, like how do you translate leadership and culture and all that to those front lines guys that you're trusting to build a home in somebody's backyard? Because I feel like the outdoor living is the hardest spot for the owner to get. Don't get me wrong, they're all hard. I'm not discrediting the lawn maintenance side either. They're all difficult. But I feel like outdoor living and hardscape, and there's a lot of hardscape companies on here. Talk to us about that, about how do you build culture where there's so much skill reliance on the front lines of those guys.
You know, it's a great question. It's a hard question, and I can't give anyone this is how to do it. I can only give you obviously the way we do it and
Yeah.
some of the problems and obviously some of the things that have worked well. And when you get to our size, right, it's the most challenging, right? I could as an owner where you're the project manager, maybe you're not the foreman anymore. Maybe you've moved to project manager or operations, you're still answering to the client. And when you can give a client an answer, that's what they want. And guys, I get an email a week from a client I've never met. They're like, "Well, you're the owner and I want to talk to you about this
Hmm.
hydrangea." I'm like, I'm sorry, who are you? What hydrangea? Right? Um, and then I look at my team. I'm like, what happened about this hydrangea? Like, why am I even asking? Because a client's upset about hydrangea and it still bothers me, right? So the hardest part is trying to get that team to take a true ownership mentality, right? And that's hard. And we all say that, right? Think like an owner, right? And if you think about it, and Mark Bradley's big on this, right? Everybody in essence who has a job is their own entrepreneur. They're their
Yep.
own business, right? They're
Yep.
there to bring in income to support themselves and or their family,
Yeah, they're
right?
exchanging their time for money. That's
Correct.
essentially what they're doing.
And guys, most people spend most of their time at their job versus with their family, other than sleeping, right? So think about the hours of the day that you're actually awake, it's mostly at work, especially in the spring in our industry, right? It's all that it is. So, trying to get, these guys to really understand that from what I think. And we do company meetings once a month. We share with everybody what the core values are. We give away awards. We give away anniversaries. We celebrate every anniversary. We read reviews out loud. We have campaigns in place so that everybody understands this is what winning looks like. And they have to know what a win looks like. And we don't talk about what the losses look like at the whole company wide, right? We leave that for sometimes the upper teams because they can take it, right? You can't go down and yell at every single player because he missed a block, right? I'm more mad at the coach. How did you let that happen? Right? The kid's going to miss a block. It looks like he wasn't prepared for it, though. That's what bothers me as a head coach, is knowing the coach didn't train for this. Was he prepared for it? So it's giving the coaches and your upper levels the, again, accountability. They're there to protect their teams. They're in the middle to make sure their teams have the right equipment, have the right hours, right? Estimate reviews, whatever it is. Our teams all review every estimate. Sales is not allowed to turn over a quote to a client until production reviews it, because I want total buy-in. And when it goes over hours, we still analyze. Was it?
Can you give us like a 1 minute breakdown of that, of how, because there's a big headbutt between sales saying, or us as the owner, if you're the owner and you're the salesperson, where the operations will say, well, sales underbid it, and then or sales will say operations was too slow and inefficient. Operations will say sales, underbid the job. So how do you keep that flowing quickly and productive, where you're letting operations review it before sales is allowed to send it? 1 minute.
The best thing I can tell you is we actually try to use our production manager to capture production rates as quickly and as fairly and as often as possible, so those can get put back into LMN so that it becomes math. It takes emotion out of it. How many square feet did you lay day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And if it stays consistent, you take out weather, you take out broken equipment, you say this is what's attainable, and then it's no more emotion. The production rate calculator says I need 80 man hours. All right, well, let's take it to 90 as a just in case. Make sure there's some drive time, the what ifs, right? So use math, don't use emotion.
There's your math, not emotion.
Yep.
That is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yep.
Quick little in the weeds comment. What do you think is production rate per day for hardscape? Give it to, you got about 150 hardscapers in this group here. Production rate per day for brick, 3-man crew.
So we have, and again, we use element templates, and I'm happy to walk through this maybe in some of the Q&A, but we have production rates for excavation and 57 install. I then have a production rate for laying either gauge brick, gauge natural stone, natural cleft stone. Then I have a production rate for cutting linear, laying porcelain, mortar install, grout install, poly sand install. I have production rates for every single one of those.
Love it. I wanted to get in the weeds. I never get to get in the weeds with questions, and I wanted to do that with you. So, all right,
I mean, I think it's 30 line items, right there.
Love it.
And we do them all. And believe me, that's what takes the emotion out. So when it's time to finally review the hours, a lot of times production's like, well, I need an extra, 20% of hours. And if I'm in the room, I'll call bullshit. I'm like, if you want an extra 20% of hours, then your production rate is wrong. So measure it again, verify it, and we'll do it. But then there's other times in the room, I'm like, you definitely need 20% more hours because I looked at the access, right? There's no way you're going to get the big machine in there. And element production rates don't do that, right? It doesn't say easy, difficult, hard. It's just one flat thing, right? I'd love to have a multiplier. If LMN and Granum are listening, I'd love to have a multiplier in there that says take the hours and add 20% for degree of difficulty, or the patent PIA factor.
Talking about going back to clarity again and setting the job expectations right here in our next slide. How often are you reviewing closeouts on whether it's a maintenance project, a maintenance job? What does the transparency look like between sales, operations, and your frontline people? Obviously, I'm sure you've got TV screens, things like that with dashboards, and Element does a great job with that. But actually talking about it, like what went good, what went bad, what went ugly. How often are you guys visiting that?
So we're trying to do it at least once a week. We call them an AAR, or after action review.
Ooh, I like that.
It actually comes from military. Read the book Extreme Ownership, right? It's after every military procedure, they break it down. What went right, what went wrong. If you had to do it over again, what would you do differently? Um, Now, you could do one of these, the three of us, we would take an entire day to break down one job for some reason, right? Because we just love talking about how we could have made it better. What you really have to do is get down to, and this is the one thing I'm trying to still be very extreme with this year with my entire team. At the end of the day, guys, everything is hours. It's just hours, right? Because every time you go over hours on this job, it pushed the next job. It pushed the revenue that month, right? It showed a weakness in what it is you're doing. Hours are everything, right? Materials, we should get that pretty darn close, to be honest, if it's in the system. But hours reflect success, right? That is your
I
score
I
every day.
hope you guys are not tuning out to what Jason is talking about right now, because this is what everybody on this call needs to hear and be writing down and taking notes on. Is everything's about the hours, everything. How, Brian, we talked about this yesterday with Kevin, where before the metric was just get the jobs done by Friday. That was
Yes. That conversation has evolved. Jason, we noted yesterday that as my business continues to grow, it was get the lawns cut by Thursday, get the snow done within 24 hours. As we've gone into our third year, right, for LMN now, it's like, no, the conversation's evolving, especially if you have multiple crews to have accountability, right? They need more clarity, more consistency, and more accountability. So now this screen that you guys are looking at, this actual is a screen from LMN. No joke. You have to, I rarely say you should. If I can make a strong recommendation for 2026 is to nerd out about this page right here and what Jason's talking about. Because Jason, talk to me a little bit about like seepage and how you can get bled out. It's not usually the 2x4 that knocks most of us across the head for a big job for a cost that derails the project. It's literally death by 1,000 paper cuts. Can you give me a for instance? You have your production rates, but where have you seen some examples of that show up? I'm dying to know.
It's right. It definitely is. And I've definitely been hit with the two by fours. So just so we're clear, like you can definitely have those, and they
sure.
hurt. But it is definitely the death by 1,000 cuts. And the thing that we're trying to get our team to understand is, the week by week analysis is what's most important, right?
Mm,
You have to look every week. You can't look at the end of the job and be like, "What happened?" It's like you had 1,000 hours. You saw this coming. You should have known this, right? What was it? And it's like, well, we shouldn't have gone out today. It's pouring down rain. My text message to my ops this morning at 5:30. How many crews are going out today? Right? It's pouring down rain. We can't do spring ops, but we got a couple jobs where we could do some hardscaping and we got tents. Like every day is a critical decision when it comes to management of hours, right? And expectations. And so, again, going back to the seepage, it's always going to be, and we were light on work last year, guys. And I can tell you this, I'm sure some of you on this call know this. My guys could have been done at 2 o'clock. They stayed till 5.
Mm.
They needed the hours, right? They knew that there wasn't a lot of work the next 2 weeks. So what are we going to do? And so they would take their time, right? It's like, no, you should have been back at 2 o'clock. According to production rates, you should have been done at 2, cleaned up at 2:30, and been on the call at 3. And I see a video, and they were overproducing work, right? They were overproducing quality because they needed the hours, and our time we weren't managing to those expectations. And so that is where that clarity comes in. They should know what time they should be back that day if they go out with goals for the day. Like,
that's awesome.
right? So if you're leaving here at 7:30, it's like, by the way, you should be back by 2 o'clock today, according to what's going on. And then, I hate to say it, at 12 o'clock, you're calling.
Right, right.
How's that 3 o'clock looking today?
So good, so good. I'm literally going through this exact process myself. I know a lot of folks listening in are going through the exact evolution and graduating in their business. I've been calling it. Folks, Element is going to give you the tools and resources to help you do that. It is a shameless plug, but I'll just tell you, if you do not have data, hate to be the bearer of bad news, most likely you're just guessing. And again, that goes back to the top of the hour. Hope is not a strategy. All right. So you need those numbers. And by the way, if you don't know, or if you don't know what those numbers mean, that's okay. Remember, we're in a process here. You're not going to get it all figured out over the next 30, 60, 90 days. Give yourself a year or 2 or 3 as a runway. Like Jason said, he didn't make those pivots overnight. All right. It's been a process. Audience poll, again, another quick one here for you guys. Talking about your crews and your foreman, cleaning up the numbers. I saw a lot of great conversation. Throw it in the chat if you guys don't mind, where you guys are looking to improve here. Sam, you want to read this one off for us?
Yeah,
Clear numbers in their performance.
almost never. Mostly in the owner's head. That's
Yep.
way too. I'm telling you, it's leading by emotion, and we've all been guilty of it. And the only scoreboard our team has is by if we're smiling or we're pissed. Like that's literally they're like, well, I guess things are going well. We made payroll, and Sam is smiling, so I guess we must be doing okay.
Well, and again, this goes and harkens back to day one or maybe day two. When you have A players, they do want to know this
They
information.
want to know. They
They
want to
do.
know. Imagine a season of Michigan and Ohio State playing games against each other with no scoreboard. I mean, like it would be really crazy, I'm sorry, Jay. I had to just
It's fair. I wouldn't
come
go.
on.
I
That's all
wouldn't
we got.
watch.
But
I mean, I
imagine no
drink, but I
scoreboard,
wouldn't
right?
watch.
It's the same thing. Like we know the band wins every time. It's all about the marching band. But when you think about that, like that clarity is kindness. And if people don't know what gets measured, gets improved. I do have one quick question, and I have a million questions, but I'm never going to get Jason on the other end of a call. But they're inquiring minds on this group want to know, Jason, what do you do in a situation like what you just said about last year, sales, it was a lighter year for many, many outdoor living companies. And instead of having, everybody during, I like to say this during the pandemic when people were sheltering in place, working from home, literally it was like the gold rush, right? Like if you answered your phone, you're selling $100,000 backyard. Like everybody wanted their outdoor living stuff done. And we all kind of got spoiled, especially salespeople during that, because literally it was you could choose the projects you wanted to close. It's just not like that anymore. It's back to you actually got to call people back now. But
Yeah.
what does the accountability look like in that situation on your sales side when it's not you as the owner? We're talking you're talking to companies that have salespeople. What does the accountability look like when sales are light and hey, you got to get your guys the hours, like you said, you're overproducing because but talk to me about the climate in that scenario. What are the conversations like with the sales people, the sales manager? What is there? Do you hold the crews accountable because they're taking longer, but they're mitering way more than they normally would? Or just talk to us about like what is the climate around that environment when you're experiencing that at such a scale like you are.
Yeah, and it was tough. I mean, again, it's always the year after, right? The after action review at 2025 it's embarrassing, right? I hate to say it. Like, man, why didn't I see this when I was right in the middle of it, right? Because you don't want to see it. Um, I'll be honest, we wanted to take care of the team in the field because we all know that the field, it wasn't their fault, right? It's not their fault I don't have sales. So again, as I said, entrepreneurs take ownership of problems, right? That was my fault. My sales team did not deliver the way they should. And they tried, right? Some of them tried and they're still here. The problem is, like you said, in 21 and 22, even bad salespeople looked good. You didn't know they were bad,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They were part of this collective team that was winning. And you didn't realize they were skipping a practice or dropping some balls because enough were being caught. So those years after kind of let everything, again, the cream rose to the crop, and those who didn't were at the bottom. And that was the big shift in the mindset of the sales team, where we were able to cut our sales team down this year by 15%, and the sales numbers gone up through the roof.
I
So
knew I
those,
knew you were going to say that. I
yeah.
knew that was coming.
So that's what happened. Those who really wanted to be here found a way to stay here and hit their goals, and those who didn't had excuses of why it wasn't their fault.
How do you lead through that when you've got the scoreboards? Like, man, that's got to be a difficult scenario when you're seeing it and you're seeing that you're going over. Like, I mean, do you have to kind of be an ostrich a little bit and put your head in the sand? Like, what are the conversations like? Get vulnerable with us here because that's got to be a deep
Ah,
topic of discussion.
man, it is because I live my life with emotion, right?
Mm,
People have always said, Jason, it's funny. People look at me, they're like, you're kind of intimidating. And you guys have seen me firsthand, right? Like when my wife hears that when people say they're intimidating, she laughs. She's like, you're gutless, right? You're afraid of confrontation. You're not intimidating at all. But when I get passionate about going over hours, overspending, I get upset because, again, if they were a business owner, I said, if this was your house, you want to do that. You want to go to the
mm.
grocery store and spend all that extra money just because you were bored, right? You're very smart with your own money. Why aren't you being smart with the money that you're given to be successful? So my passion comes out and it becomes intense. And people don't like to be around me when I'm intense because I really hold them accountable and I can see the scoreboard and be like, what happened? And when they don't have an answer, and when I get, I don't know, I really don't handle that well. Right. And I don't yell and scream. I'm just that dad who says, well, I'm just disappointed in you.
Yep.
Right. Worst words ever a son can hear. Right. And I'm sure for daughters, it's the same. I just can't speak to that world. But it was that disappointing that, when I see the numbers and the results and even salespeople, I'm like, you're not selling. You're 8 weeks with nothing. And then they would come up with, oh, I got all this and I got these calls and I got this pipeline. I'm like, but you don't, because I don't see it. Well, I just haven't put it in yet.
Love it. I love it. Well, let's do this. I want to keep going with talking about training. That's our next little portion that we got here for you guys. We actually modified some of these slides based on the feedback that you guys had for wanting to know more about Greenius. And so what a perfect conversation to have here with Jason, literally just talking about mindset and training and getting people to understand. Thanks for making it easy on me, Jason. That was an easy layup. Sam, you want to take it away? We're going to talk just for a couple of minutes about some of the tools part of Greenius to help you guys out. And again, Greenius, it's a bolt-on with LMN, all in the same ecosystem. We're actually going through the process ourselves right now. I know a lot of these guys have already spent the time and energy to build the roadmaps and the training videos, which is an exciting conversation. So let's talk about Greenius for a couple of quick minutes because we want to make sure we're giving you guys the actual tools to do what Jason's talking about. So Sam?
I mean, all too often, the reason that we don't do performance reviews with our front lines people is because we're too afraid as leaders to share the bad news with them, or B, we don't know what to talk about. We don't measure, so we're giving performance reviews based off of emotion, not off of data. And that's one of the things that I love with Greenius is how it simplifies the process. So let's talk about what do your field. I'm a big component. I think one of our big culture changers was allowing our leads or our foremen to do the performance reviews on like a number 2 or a number 3 on a crew. I think that was a game changer for us because it creates ownership on your foreman or your lead techs or whatever you want to refer to them as. So let's talk about that in Hidden Creek, Jason. How do you guys utilize Greenius as far as the different levels here? Like, the different for those of you that book your demo or whatever, because that's already built out for the ability
We're losing him a little bit.
to performance reviews. But what's that?
I think
Was that
we
mine?
had a little bit of a lag there. I think we're good now. You're back. We're back. Everybody's still good.
And I
Yeah,
and I got what your
full
question
internet,
was.
so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Who knows what's going on overseas these days? I'm glad to be here. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I just want to do some mowing grass before the world ends. But anyway, let's keep going. Jason, Greenius, there you go.
Yeah. So we have Greenius in-house here as well too. We've been on it for a couple years. The biggest thing I'll say with training, and when just like you, Sam, even just this year, we had our foremans do the reviews of their teams, right? And we didn't used to do that. We kind of did it emotional, put in a percentage and go from there. And we let the foremans do it. We sat there with them and they really enjoyed it, to be honest. And it is scary. So what do we do when something's scary? Nature says run the other way, right? But we all know that who wants to watch the guy that runs away from a fire? We all want the guy that says, I'm running into the fire. There's somebody in there who needs my help. So we did it. We use Greenius. The one thing I'll say that we've kind of switched up, we're getting ready to have our training day coming up, right? We do it company wide. And I used last year's failures to actually re-implement what training is this year, which is back to the basics, right? How many calls do we take on warranty from dead plants? A ton. We're going to go back to planting plants, right? We're going to go back to the actual basics of what we are here to do, right? How do you do a vertical trim versus a horizontal trim? What's the difference? Why do we do it? What's the burnout? And so, it's the Vince Lombardi, every first day of practice, this is a football, right? He would say that to the Green Bay Packers, his own team, this is a football. Start with the basics, right? And I'll be honest, our guys know how to load up a truck and trailer. That's easy, that's trainable, that's repeatable. I don't need to train on that. That's part of onboarding. That's not continuous training. Continuous training is what were all the problems we had, right?
Yep.
tracks blowing off because we didn't clean out the tracks every single day. That slows down an entire crew. So we're using Greenius in that form. And it is funny. I walked into one of my sessions and my team's in there on Greenius, and I look and I got 30 people in the room watching chainsaw safety. And I said, last year's revenue on chainsaw was, I think, $1,500. Why do I have 30 people watching a video on chainsaw safety when we never do it? Right? So don't let Greenius just be as owners. Well, I put them in a room, I turn on the TV, and I'll
All
come
do it.
back, right?
We all do
That's
it. And then
that,
we want to give pay raises based off of how many
yeah,
courses they complete. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's
somebody's got to govern it for sure.
Yeah, someone's got to govern it and really figure out what was so critical. And we're going back to morning rollouts. Let's train on what a morning rollout success looks like. What the 5S is in terms of your trailer, right? Use it in Greenius, create the plan that will actually bring value, not check a box. Do not let safety and training be a checkbox, right? It should be driven from your numbers, from what you lost in last year. And that is, again, knowing your numbers.
That's
Man,
awesome.
that's so good. So good.
The we're going through the process right now of building out our Greenius roadmap and platform, Jason, and I
Mm-hmm.
love what you're talking about here. And those are some good tips and nuggets for us as we continue to build out this platform for us to make sure that we're doing it the right way. So, folks, if you've never had a e-learning, I know a lot of us have basically just started as a technician or young guy and gal, started your own lawn care landscaping business. Maybe you never had the privilege or pleasure or pain to go work in corporate America or a retail store or a restaurant or fast food. Pretty much every other industry exclusively has an onboarding and hiring process where you are going to sit in front of some type of computer and watch 6 to 100 videos. All right. And so again, you're like, well, Greenius, like it's the spring rush. I don't have time to make SOP training videos. No emergencies. Do these in June, July, August. Okay. You can still sign up with Greenius, book a demo, learn how the platform works. And as we said the last couple of days, Jason, my suggestion is just start writing down everything you're doing so we don't let the spring rush get in our way, quote unquote, but we don't forget about what we're doing over the next 60 to 90 days. And we can come back and backfill these training videos in maybe late summer when we have a little bit more time. So, Jason, did you guys build your Greenest platform out in about 2 weeks, or does it take a couple of years and maybe a little bit of an evolution?
It never stops, right? Because training should be focused on what's going wrong and what's going right. And by the way, just because you do it right doesn't mean everybody knows how to do it. And in an industry where we're constantly adding people, I'll be honest, I've had foremen's been with me like you guys, 12, 14, 15 years, right? 20 years. They don't always teach the way you want them to teach, right? They teach the way that they know, right? And if they're not the safest, but they've been doing it this way, so it really is understanding what training and onboarding really looks like, right? Onboarding is not 2 days and here's a uniform, right? And please don't have an accident, right? It really should be longer. And we're even redeveloping our onboarding program to make sure where it's getting touched and where we should be going. So you're right. Keep evolving your training, keep evolving your Greenius, right? Make it adaptable to you.
That's
As
awesome.
as we're doing this next poll, I'll tell a story as people are filling this out. Which area do you see the biggest difference for your team this season? Let's make sure you guys fill the poll out. But a couple years ago, we embarked on the journey of adopting a couple of cats. Okay, true story. We adopted two cats. They were brothers. They were homeless, and we decided we were going to adopt them. But let me talk to you guys about the process of adopting these cats. We had to get background checked. Okay. They literally wanted to make sure we didn't have like cruelty to animals. We weren't felons. We had all these things that they wanted to make sure of. They came and inspected our home. And I'm like, dude, these two cats were kittens and they were homeless, living under a rowboat somewhere where they got found. And then they wanted them to meet our yellow lab to make sure that our lab wasn't going to eat them. I mean, all these things, right? And we finally, at the end of a couple week period, got approved to take these two kittens. And but my point is this: there are more efforts put in to adopt some homeless cats than we do before we send employees out in $100,000 F550 pulling a $80,000 skid steer or mowing trailer. These are adopting cats. So the technology's there. It's right in front of us. There's no reason why. I remember going through the process. I was like pumped that we got approved to get these darn cats. And I'm going, man, like, dude, somebody will come in. They got a pulse, throw them a shirt, put them on a truck and go to work.
That's awesome. It's a true story though. You're not wrong there with that level of onboarding. We talked a lot about that on day one, day two. Maybe you guys are just catching the replay. go back to day one with Denver. He talked a lot about his onboarding and hiring process. Very refreshing conversation. And if it's striking home with any of you guys, do me a solid. Throw amen in the chat. By the way, shake it out, shake it up a little bit. Folks, we got about 20 more minutes to go. We're on the home stretch. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys' participation. But if you're drifting a little bit, I know most of us are just dying to be out in the field. It's not a lot of sunny days here in Michigan. So, know that about yourself. Know that you're going to drift after about an hour on a webinar with most of us that are ADHD and OCD. So shake it out really quick. Jason's probably standing. He's probably got a walking treadmill under that desk. But that's right. So there you go. All right, let's jump back into it. Home stretch, 20 more minutes. And guys, we are going to get to all of your questions. A lot of great ones coming in. If there's something that these guys have touched on that you do want to know a little bit more on or about, throw it in the Q&A because hey, as they say, Jason, squeaky wheel gets the grease. So let's do this really quick. Let's round it out. Jason, as you're building this high performance culture, you're building teams. You and Sam have talked a lot so far about a lot of best practices and do's and don'ts. Let's wrap it up with the quarterly, the annual. I know we just got off the heels of that. So how are you guys landing the plane from 2025 and kicking off 26?
It's another great question, and it is where we really try to separate ourselves, is really looking at what the next 1 year plan is going to be, 3 year plan is going to be. We have it broken down into quarters as well too, in terms of what we call rocks, or clear goals that we have to go through and different levels. It does not go all the way down to the field with regards to rocks and things like that. It is at the what I kind of consider, I guess, the overhead level, and that then is shared in our big February meeting where we tell the entire company, this is what we're going to be 1 year. This is what we're going to be 3 year. This is our gross margin. This is how many reviews we want. This is what, our KPIs are for different divisions. And this is what our plans are going to be. So we share it with the entire company, and we have a translator there for the entire thing. And so everybody knows, like, hey, we're shooting for 10% net profit this year. Right. And I know there's people in the room, and you know what I know they hear? Oh, Jason just wants more money, right? It's all about what Jason wants. Of course, guess what? I can't ever change their mind. And I used to beat myself up over it, right? I used to feel guilty about it. And I still do. If we have success, I still want to give it away. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. But at the same time, I also know that's what the company needs if it wants to keep growing, right? If I want to give better opportunities and give better benefits. And so I am clear in that. And even when we had a very poor profit year, I still paid out bonuses because why?
Yep.
Because it was my fault. I didn't do a good job. I didn't cut the people when I should have cut the people, and I let them stay too long, and I let them take down the culture, right? So I have to accept responsibility, right? And now everybody knows I can't do that again this year. I can't keep giving away to say I'm sorry. I've got to start making sure that everybody knows you guys all signed up for this. You're here February. You saw the kickoff. You saw the KPIs. You saw the stats. By the way, Q1 is coming up to an end here in 25 more days. We're going to measure Q1. We had goals, we had budgets. If they were exceeded, and we got some good snow this year, we got a little bit of the white stuff. It wasn't enough. It slowed down hardscapes, right? It wasn't a fair, equal trade. So were we smart with our hours? Did we let guys come in and, we don't need 30 people to wash 5 trucks, right? So we were very diligent this year and very, focused on what was going to help us save the money because we knew what was going on. Where the year before, we just kind of did what we had to do. So that's what the team now understands. Things count. They really do.
That's awesome.
I remember 1 year selling like some old equipment so that we could give end of year bonuses to our guys because we had no money, and of course no money means there's no profit, but it's the same thing. Like, we feel bad because it's our fault. Like, it's not their fault that the season sucked. And so, like, that really, I guarantee, will hit home with a lot of people, Jay, when you think about, it's not their fault that the season sucked. So you want to make sure they're taken care of. And man, what a day, what an episode. I can't wait to get to the Q&A here. I know we're like at the end here, but man, I feel like this could have been a multi-hour episode and just keep picking Jason's brain at the good, bad, and the ugly years of Hidden Creek. And so
this is going to be a good year, guys. And I'll say it here on the record, right? You guys hold me accountable to it. Check in with me in July, or check in with me every quarter. Right? If you guys want to set up another phone call, Jason, how you doing? Right? I got no problem sharing my numbers, sharing my scorecards. I've got a scorecard on one job that we're 3,000 hours over. That sucks.
What the?
3,000 hours.
We got one of those. We got to finish this spring too. But this call's not about me. It's about you, Jason. Man, your guys suck, dude.
Oh, bro.
Uh,
And I
yeah.
look at it every day thinking it's going to get better, but it's my reminder that, right, what went wrong, and constant reminder of all those things that say like it's okay. By the way, we didn't go out of business, right? And the clients loved us, right? I did not say to the client, "This is your fault. You screwed me." It's we screwed up. We got it. We're going to take care of it.
Well, on a lighter note, for all of you guys that ran
Woo.
3,000 labor hours last year, Jason blew his budget on one job for what my
Yeah,
business probably did last year. So there's always a bigger fish.
trust me, I can teach you guys a lot.
That's so good. So
Oh,
good.
Shikaka, that's awesome, brother. All right. One thing here's listen, I'll tell you straight out. One thing I really loved about Jason, you guys have heard it before. He's very honest, he's very candid, and very transparent. And that's something I think the industry needs more of. And I'll tell you guys, guilty pleasure, if you happen to see Jason on the marquee anywhere you go at Grow, Leanscaper, Element events, Equip Expo, SIMA, whatever, wherever Jason's at, I really would encourage you to plug in. Give him a follow on Instagram. Give him a follow on LinkedIn, all that fun stuff. Jason actually did a talk last year at Grow and Marty Grunder's event talking about how to sell to high net worth individuals, especially if you come from, a double wide trailer like myself. I was like, I need to plug into that class because I want to learn more about how Jason made a pivot with his self image to sell $500,000 landscape jobs to people who are worth 50 million bucks. And you want to talk about like Jason, I still have takeaways from your speech and conversation from that last year. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. Guys, we're going to get in the Q&A. If you have a question, throw it in the comments. The chat Q&A, by the way, the chat Q&A. And one quick note, I do want to just talk about this for a quick second. If you guys haven't scheduled your Greenius demo, you guys haven't scheduled your LMN demo, we'll drop another link in the chat. Folks, please don't let this opportunity slide by. Please don't just say, hey, we'll get this next fall. We'll get this next spring. Hey, one day we'll operate Greenius, or one day we'll, start getting those templates that Jason and Sam were talking about with LMN. Folks, I onboarded in LMN this same time 2.5 years ago, or 2 years ago, during the hardest spring rush ever. And I was building a home, 2 kids, living in a camper with a wife, and we were able to get our Element account launched. If you're a 21-year-old single guy, zero excuses. Okay, just lock in and get it done. But don't think,
Amen.
oh, that ship is past, folks. The spring season hasn't even started. Okay, so let's still lock in, get those demos booked. And also, I believe if you book a demo, they're going to buy you lunch or fill up your gas tank, one or the other. So great little promo going on there with LMM. All right, let's do this really quick. Let's take it from the top. We're going in the Q&A chat thread. So if you got questions, throw them on in there. I did want to just touch on one really quick. Matt had a question. How do you bid mulch and landscaping jobs? A lot of great formulas out there, a lot of great videos out there. Again, I hate to just kind of make a little shameless plug. Get involved with LMN, find a system or a tool that can give you a production rate, and then you can get your measurements based on those production rates. You'll know how much yards of mulch and how much labor to install it. Very, very simple process. Okay. So
Yep.
there's a lot of great YouTube videos out there. I know a guy who's got a great YouTube channel, quote unquote, and he's got some of those videos on how-tos. Check that out. All right, let's do this really quick. I want to go to Corey. He had a really great question. This one's going to Mr. Cromley. At Hidden Creek, are there any key action items that are unique to your sales management and maintaining a high performance team due to the longer sales cycle for high priced objects
Ooh,
or
that's good.
projects?
That's good.
That's great. And one of the things that we implemented really, thanks to Mark Bradley and now my director of revenue, is really these that we call disco calls or discovery calls, right? A normal salesperson, a call would come in, a lead would come in. Oh, I want to spend $100,000 and man, race, get to their house as quick as possible, right? And then do what? Right? They just wanted someone at their house. They were just trying to check a box, didn't know you had 6 other people. So the discovery calls really got very, very specific, right? We try to do them live on some sort of Teams or video call so we can see what they look like, and we dive into budget, we dive into their wants, we dive into the fact we charge a design fee, it's required, and we won't touch or come to your property without a design fee. Be expecting to pay a minimum of $3,500 to $10,000, right? So that's those high net worth people where, and guys, I didn't used to charge design fees. I used to give them away for free, right? I had to. You do what you got to do in the beginning. Yes, I saw my landscape plan built by the next cheapest, lowest bidder someplace, right? So it's going to happen. But once you start to put more value on what your designs are, you deliver better designs, you deliver on expectations, you do the discovery call, they understand that you're professional, right? You're trying to be efficient with their time and your time. That's what these people want. The high wealth people, the high net worth, they have very little time. So when they give it to you, give them your attention, give them your focus, and make sure that it's on time and delivers any expectations.
Jason, let me
So
let me
good.
let me, let me press in on that, Jason. You have a refined process, it sounds like. What made you realize you didn't have a refined process? And maybe give me an example of a time you blew a meeting with an individual like that and you realize I need to figure this out and we got to stop wasting their time. And that maybe illuminated some bottlenecks in your organization on your sales process. Do you have anything that stands out?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is really that budget. There's nothing more defeating than when the client says, I don't really have a budget, do what you want. And you come back with, $250,000 design, everything they said they wanted, the pool, the water feature, the fireplace. And they're like, well, I only have 50,000. It's like,
Yep.
and they're disappointed in you. You were excited for a $250,000 sale. They thought it was going to be $50,000. So when you're not educated about what costs are within your industry and what it is they're actually asking for, because in that discovery call, tell me the 6 things that you want. Oh, 50,000 for that. Oh, you want a pool? How about an auto cover? Got to have an auto cover. You need a fence too, right? Well, yeah, that's another 20,000. I'm looking at your site online on Google Maps. Is this really yours? Yeah, that's it. How's 500 sound? Well, all right, let's start taking some things out. Let's get what makes you comfortable. And that's
I always
getting
love that we don't even know what this stuff costs. It's our job to educate them at that point
truly.
when they because everybody
Yeah.
says we don't know what this stuff costs.
Yeah, this is not buying a car online where you can check 10 different dealerships and they're all within 1% of each other.
Yep.
This is a living, breathing experience. As you said it, Sam, the world of outdoor living just constantly evolves. And once they see you show up, you're in uniform, that's when the change orders kick in because now they're like, now I trust these guys. I told them I only had 250, but really, I've got five. I just didn't want to tell them because I was afraid they'd steal from me.
So good.
Right?
Yep.
We're not
So
stealing
good.
from you. We want to try to maximize and squeeze every ounce out of your dollar if we can.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is gold, man. So good. So good.
Let's keep the piggyback on that, Jason. We're gonna hover on this topic about sales for a quick minute. Colin had a great question, two-part, probably shorter answer on the first one. How did you find your first designers to hire? And then number two, probably low-hanging fruit, easy question. What size business did you have as you decided to hire said salesperson?
Mm.
Yeah, so honestly, guys, a lot of this is luck, right? I'd love to sit here and say all my business success is because I make the best decisions every time. Thank you, almighty luck, right? And St. Patrick's Day is around the corner, so drink your Guinness just in case. But with that, we had an ex-foreman of ours who worked for us. He went to school, got his degree in landscape architecture, and then came back to work for us. He had worked in industry and landscape architecture, and he was phenomenal because he actually understood the trade also of building. In today's world, a lot of students who are going to landscape architecture have maybe never built a patio in their life, right? So their CDs might be weak, but their visions might be big. You might be able to find just a landscape designer that's got a community college degree. Great. They might have a 4-year landscape architecture degree. Great. You just need to be able to tell someone what it is you want and let them run with it, right? But in the world of design, everything's got to be fast. And a lot of designers are like, well, I'm waiting for inspiration. I'm like, were you waiting for inspiration when your professor said it's due on Friday? Right? You don't wait for inspiration when the subject's due, and a client's the same way. I have a meeting Friday. I need the design by Wednesday. It's called a
Yep.
deadline. And if they can't get to that and understand that, then that designer is not ready for our pace of world yet. So when you're interviewing, when you're looking, it's really how quick they can turn things for you, right? That is the key component.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yep.
I'm going to ask this next question to you, Jason, and then Sam, I want to get your perspective on this. You guys have tremendous organizations. Jessica's asking a really solid question, probably one of the better questions I've ever seen in a chat bot or a chat thread here. It was, I feel like I have a constant revolving door if I don't continually try to work through difficult attitudes and inconsistencies with employees. How to decide where to draw the line in the sand?
You never
Mm.
draw the line in the sand unless you have a backup in place.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you let them stay and you let them ruin. So you have to constantly be recruiting, right? And like Sam's awesome example from my friend Jerry Schill as well too. Sometimes you got to let go of a hostage, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you just got to say, look, this person adds zero value. So have to be able to stand by whatever your values are for your company and what it is, and say we're better off without them. And it's still a struggle because you still feel like they're helping some, but they're only doing 30%, and the 70% you're spending to fix the rest of it is 130, because you're
Yeah.
still supposed to do your own job as well too.
Let me just ask you this, Jason. I want to just press in a little bit on that. I'm a big like tools and resources kind of guy. Do you have anything, a power phrase, statement, a book, a podcast, a guru, that has helped you to become more effective with people, including dealing with difficult people?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton, and I'm always looking for more. Currently, Mark Bradley's been a great mentor and a great coach to me, and he's currently just riding me hard, about I got to do better. You said you're going to do it, you didn't get it done, right? Where's your focus? Where's your clarity? Guys, you need tough coaches, right? And sometimes we like to hear it, sometimes we don't like to hear it, right? We don't like to hear it when we know we're failing on our own. We love to hear it when we're like, I feel good. I just got a good night's sleep, got a
Yep.
closed a deal, I had a great profit. It's when all those things are bad, you're like, I don't need that guy. I don't want that right now. So you have to be able to handle the tough talks, right? You give them. It's easy for us to give them, right? I love giving tough talks. Not so fun getting a tough talk, right? So sometimes it's really just being honest with yourself and honest with those people, and also talking to your coaches. Sometimes it's like, hey, coach, today's not the day, right? Today, I can't do it today, right? I got some personal stuff going on. I got some family stuff going on. We say it all the time. Why you don't ask, you're late, you're late, you're late. It's why are you late? Train, family issues. Son was sick this morning. Always ask why before you start yelling, right? Now, if
Yeah.
it is their grandmother that's passed away 4 times, maybe you should have a deeper why conversation. But you still want to start with why if you can.
Yeah, I love that. I was at a Mark Bradley Leanscaper event, and he said the best tip that he provided with dealing with people is, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
You want to talk about a disarming conversation? Are you okay? Hey man, like you were late today. Are you okay? Versus chomping on somebody and saying, "What the heck, bro?" And you go, "Well, you don't know, but my dad got a diagnosis this morning."
Yeah.
Right? And by the way, what an opportunity to come and lay arms with that dude. I don't know why I'm getting emotional on that. That's crazy. But
Yeah.
when's the last time anybody's asked us, "Are you okay?" Hey man, how are you doing? And
Yeah.
we all just want to bark and look at metrics. But remember, as Sam said many times before, we're in the people business, not just the
Yep.
landscaping business. All right.
Love it. Great.
I don't know. That got me. I don't know why. Lack of sleep. Let's go. Spring rush, baby. I like this one. Easy little fastball down the middle. Let's kind of let it out, broaden it out a little bit. Best piece of business advice going into the spring rush. Jason, I'm gonna go to you, and then Sam, I want to hear yours too, brother. So, Jason, best business advice going into spring rush 2026. What should it be?
There's no extension of time. So there's still 24 hours in a day. So be honest with your clients. When you're behind, you're behind. Do not overpromise the spring. You can't do it. You're not going to make them all happy. So just accept it, plan it, strategize it.
Fantastic. I love that.
You got to be able to sleep at night.
That's solid. That's solid. There's a lot of personal experience for all of us on that one. Sam, best business advice going into spring rush 2026.
You know what? I used to say going into spring, back off of the marketing because the work is going to be there. But now I'm like, nope, double down on sales, 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 sales. But document everything. So you're going into spring. You don't want to end up it's October and you've been running at 140 miles an hour and you don't know what happened. You don't know where the money was. And I see this in the coaching world right now because the phone's starting to ring and people are getting excited because sales are coming in. And like that's the excitement is around the sales. But if you don't have the documented plan set up for how you're gonna manage your time and or your headspace or how you're gonna job cost, how like don't just focus on the sales. You have to sell, but document everything so that way when the work does come, you've got the proper job jackets, you've got the proper takeoffs, you've got the attentive AI site maps. Like, don't just focus on the sales. You got to sell, get it while the getting's good, but slow down and take a chance to take the time to make sure that you're preparing for a healthy culture, healthy spring. Otherwise, you're going to end up with yourself back out there putting pavers in and mowing lawns yourself again because you didn't take time. You're so focused on the sale, you're forgetting about everything else.
I love it. I love it. So good. So good. Folks, please do me a solid. When you guys hear or see the email come through that the recording or replay is available, go back through, replay it while you're on the mower, plowing, working out, getting the groceries, doing whatever you do, getting your morning sauna session in, whatever it is. Listen to this stuff a couple of times. They say it takes 7 times on average to hear something for it to get into your brain and into your subconscious. And for some of us, that might be 10 or 12. All right. I'm just being honest with you. So, folks, we can't thank you enough for being on with us today. Jason Cromley did a fantastic, fantastic job. I had no surprise that he wouldn't deliver and kick butt. So, guys, if you can drop me a big, solid thank you in the chat. Thank you to Mr. Cromley. This guy could be anywhere in the world, but he's here with us, and we're very grateful for that. Guys, that is a wrap on day 3. Tomorrow, make sure you come back. One more final kickoff. Apparently, they're letting the inmates in charge of the prison. They're going to take the gloves off. They're going to take the handcuffs off. Sam and I get to just go back and forth tomorrow and have a great Q&A. And Sam's going to share with us how to actually launch a spring kickoff meeting. We're actually doing ours March 20th up here in Michigan. We're a couple weeks behind the folks, maybe a little bit more down south. You best believe and know that I'm going to be taking notes, and I want to know X's and O's, checklists. What do I got to do to make 2026 kickoff its best year ever? Folks, I will just say, last but not least, you got plenty of time to sign up with LMN, sign up with Green Yes. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It is the best decision I've made for my company in the last 36 months was, as Jason said, to go from a landscaper to a business owner. All right. And if you don't know your numbers, you don't know some of the metrics that these guys were sharing about, and it's a little high level and it's a little scary, hey, like, no big deal. All right. The longest journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Folks, make that decision, book a demo, check it out for yourself, and see if that's something that you want to make the investment in with Greenius and LMN. All right, we've got a link in the chat so you guys can book that today. All right, well, that's what we got for you guys here. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for spending time with us. Don't forget to come back tomorrow, day 4. You got to come to all 4 days, by the way, to earn that chance to win a $500 gift card for your team and your crew. So we'll hang a little carrot out there for you guys. But that's what we got for you today. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you. You guys have a great day, and we'll catch up with you on the next one.